I just would like to say one thing before I start my remarks. I was born and raised in Japan, and this is the first forum that I was really with the part of the Japanese-American group of people. And I really appreciate Dan for including me because yesterday and today we heard a lot about the historical context of why this group got together here and today. And I always felt, having been in this country almost half of my lifetime now, that I really didn't know how to connect with the Japanese-American group of people. And now I understand why I felt the way I did and how that sort of unseen gap may have existed within myself. And then I really think it's opportune time after 60, almost 70 years of history passed, and that there's a great opportunity for us to work together. And I'm very grateful that I'm part of it. So I just wanted to say that before I start my remarks. So I think there are a lot of analysis and interpretations made of why the entrepreneurship in Japan is different from that in the US. And I am not going to go dwell on that because that will be days of debate. But I think Ambassador Roos said this morning there are tangible and intangible reasons why entrepreneurship in Japan is different and might have some challenges. I would like to focus my comments today on more of intangibles because the tangible ones I have no power to make changes in tax policies or regulatory changes in Japan. But I think there are things that we as citizens of community can bring to bear. So 3 things that I find in my observation of having worked outside of Japan for almost 20-some years, but having spent many years in Japan, 3 things that I understand to be obstacles. But also I would like to talk about not just obstacles, but how the obstacles present opportunities. So 3 obstacles that I would like to talk about. One is perception. And by the way, all of these 3 obstacles that I talk about are really perception and mindset that are sort of genesis of, I think, these obstacles. First one is risk, sense of risk and risk-taking, however you want to call it. Obviously, as Dan said, in Silicon Valley, where I reside today, is full of ambitious, adventurous Americans and immigrants who really have nothing to lose by trying out something new. And actually, I felt when I came to this country almost 25 plus years ago to go to graduate school, as a woman from Japan, I felt I had nothing to lose. And in some ways, I feel the Silicon Valley culture is very similar. In Japan, in contrast, they have a lot to lose. And that's because of a structural system, how the companies are formed. I really don't think it has anything to do with Japanese people understanding what the risk is and how to calculate risk. But system and structure that don't allow them to take those risks that they analyze very thoroughly. So what does that mean? To me, we can go on about this, but one thing that I find is very dangerous is that this notion that I see in some parts of the Japanese business life, that not taking any action is actually least riskier than doing something. And that, to me, is very costly risk you're actually taking, not knowing that you're taking a risk. I mean, I think this is this illusion that if you don't do anything and sit there, and I think there are just some Japanese jokes, I'm sure there are Japanese business people here who lived through the last 20 years of Japan. There are some interesting jokes about the baseball field and Satori and all that kind of stuff. So I think that is the danger, not the notion that not doing anything and sort of being sitting in one place and being in action actually takes you to greater risk and not understanding that is potentially great cost. So I will talk about that later when I talk about opportunities related to this. The second thing I think is an obstacle, but also creates opportunity, is education. I grew up in Japan and went through the Japanese educational system all the way through college. And I would like to sort of share with you my sort of aha moment. When my daughter was in the kindergarten in California, in Silicon Valley, her class, in the kindergarten class, had this sort of impromptu play that it actually wasn't impromptu. They practiced for a couple of weeks, and then the parents were invited to come and see. This is kindergarten, so it's all 5-year-old. After the play, the teacher said, I would like to share everybody's appreciation of what happened in the play. And the teacher said, I would like to start first. And the teacher said, Hugo, I appreciate Hugo today because he took a risk in making lines that didn't exist in the practice. I was sitting there listening. This is teacher saying that a student actually deviated from what they practiced in the class, and she celebrated the student in front of everybody, in front of the parents, and used the word taking risks. And I said, this is why I'm sitting in Silicon Valley and my children are going to school here. Now, my children also have a fortune of going to Japanese school during the summer after the Japanese school, English school, American school ends, and Japanese school ends in the end of July for about a month and a half. So, I mean, I put them in a Japanese public school in Sapporo, and I had an opportunity to see it. So now, what is the, again, I think this is more of an opportunity. I think there are ways to educate not only the youth, but also throughout the adulthood, people to understand critical thinking, or people not understand, exercise and practice critical thinking. And I think there are different parts in this country, as well as in Japan. I guess I was listening to Professor Agawa's speech yesterday and today from Keio, and I was very encouraged. And I think there are other universities and educational institutions in Japan who are really promoting these critical thinking as opposed to just rote memorization and test taking. But anyway, I'll talk about that as an opportunity later. The third obstacle that I would like to talk about is the clock time. And in this one, I have a very mixed emotions about this, because I think everybody in this room feels that if you go to Japan, you sort of feel like, it's so nice here. It's sort of relaxing. It's sort of, kind and warm, and you feel, it's sort of nice. I do. And it's, as opposed to, Silicon Valley or New York or anywhere that you are in, you feel like you're always constantly on a treadmill. In Japan, that the time sort of flows, and then it's, so that's the good part of it. But as soon as you come back to the business discussion, I mean, everybody I'm sure in this room says, have heard and has experienced, it's too slow in Japan. Decision making is too slow. And then this is, I'm sure, including some of the Japanese colleagues from Japan sitting here in the U.S. But I think there's a reason, because once you're in Japan, the Japan time